guys, welcome to another episode of Equip and Elevate. I'm so excited. Today I have Noma. We're going to be speaking about all things business. I first met Noma at one of the brunches that she hosts. You probably have seen them on Instagram. It's called Brunch with Noma. It was so amazing. I remember thinking to myself, I think I told him that day, I need to have you on my podcast. So I'm really excited to speak to Noma. She's currently the CEO of Ziyana Business Consulting and Training, and this is going to really be amazing for us to really understand how she's built her business from ground up and some tips that she can share with you guys if you're on the journey of really trying to establish your own business and also trying to generate profit or making your business profitable, which is something that a lot of business owners struggle with. So I'm really excited. So welcome to our podcast, Noma.
Thank you, Ayanda, and thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm quite excited about this conversation.
We are excited to have you. And also, guys, Noma's going to tell you about her career journey. She's not just some business owner. She's had a really interesting journey in corporate. And I think if you're even interested, go on LinkedIn just to find out even more about what she's gotten up to. But I think to get started with the podcast, what we love to do is we like to go back to your childhood. And I think also another thing that I really loved from, again, sorry, I'm going to keep going back to the brunch with Noma, when you shared your journey, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, how you've just been on this journey. So take us back to you, your childhood and your journey, and then we'll get into some of the key values that have shaped you.
Okay. My childhood was very normal, very typical childhood, growing up in the 1990s and early 2000s. So I was born in Port Elizabeth. I'm the firstborn in the family, and I have one sibling who is my sister, so I'm the elder. So there's an element of responsibility that comes with becoming a firstborn at home. So my name means exactly that. Nomazibulo means firstborn in Xhosa. Sure. So there was that responsibility, even though it was subtle when we were growing up, but I could tell that there's high expectations from both my parents in terms of achieving, or in terms of, them opening the doors for me and for us so that we are able to thrive and be better people in our societies, because they didn't have the opportunities that we had. So that pressure then carried me throughout to say that I'm the firstborn. And I remember my mom used to say to me, your sister will take from you. So whatever it is that you do, you will become a role model to your sister. So you need to make sure that you behave accordingly and you keep on with the principles and the values that we teach you here at home.
Sure, I love that. And I remember one of the things you were sharing, we're getting into your career journey. What did you want to be when you're growing up? And I think it's also interesting to chat about your journey with jobs and how that was and where you are right now. Because I remember you were saying you even used to do hair at a hair salon. Please take us through all of that journey. Yeah.
Yes. So I started working when I was doing standard 9, which is grade 10 or 11. Yeah. Grade 11. So I started doing working there. So I remember one time I was thinking, you know what, my mom is struggling, and because my mom was a till packer at a local spa. So she was only earning 3,500 Rand, and she was required to transport herself, feed the family, transport the 2 kids, and we rode bus every day. So the bus tickets, she needed to have them. So I was like, you know what, I can't, watch my mom struggle this much. So I think I need to go and see if there's no opportunities or hustling in today's terms.
Yeah.
So I went to this gentleman. His name is Luke. He owned a salon called Look Africa. So I went to him and said to him, you know what, I'm looking for an opportunity and I would love for you to employ me because I'm looking for employment. He looked at me, was like, you are very young. And he asked me, can you do hair? Then I was like, I can't, but I can learn. And I just want to be here from the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And I remember I was getting paid 20 Rand a day. So taking home 40 Rand after 2 days felt like an achievement for me, because I could buy my mom electricity.
Yeah.
At the time, she already had an electricity meter box where we can purchase, as and when at certain intervals. So I went in, did the hair. I think at the time, he was like, you're not going to do adults' hair. We're going to start with the kiddies' hair. Relaxing the hair, tonguing the hair, styling the hair, etc.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned how to do hair. But I wouldn't say I was a perfectionist.
Yeah.
But because everything that I touch, I'm committed to it and I give my 100% all. So
Sure.
I never had lots of complaints because I was always committed to learning and to improving myself.
Sure.
Then in matric, I was like, okay, now I need to grow. I can't survive on 20 Rand during the weekends. I need 25 Rands. So I went to, there's one big mall in Port Elizabeth, which is Greenacres Mall. So
Yes,
I went shop to shop at Greenacres Mall looking for employment around June holiday when I was doing matric. And I remember going to like jets, you start with the jets, Edgar's, etc. And then they reject you. Then I went to fashion, what is it?
Fashion World.
Fashion World, yes.
Yeah.
Then I went to Fashion World. I met an Indian gentleman. I said, I'm looking for a job. I'm a student. I'm doing matric. But I feel like I need employment because over the weekends I'm doing nothing. During the holidays I'm doing nothing. And then they appointed me. So I worked there. I was earning 30 Rand a day. So it improved from 20 Rand to 30 Rand a day. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that I was even going there on holidays, it helped my mom so much. I remember in matric in December, my mom didn't have, the money to buy my siblings. So we're staying with my sibling. And then my mom raised a cousin of ours. So there were two sisters of mine now. So I remember they didn't have clothes for Christmas. I said to Mom, don't worry, I've got you. On the 25th of December, your house, it's you're not going to even feel that you didn't put anything. So I'm going to buy my siblings Christmas clothes and I'm going to pay for, Christmas groceries. And I'm going to pay for electricity because electricity was the initial reason why I started working because I wanted to contribute to electricity. I was tired during the middle of the month, boom, electricity is off and my mom has to go door to door to borrow money to buy for the electricity.
Yeah.
So it's like, that was my initial, stance or my initial motivator for me to go and look for employment.
Sure.
Then from there, I went on to Edcon. The year later, I worked at Edcon during holidays. Same stance, I knocked. They opened the doors for me and bless the souls to everyone that has opened doors for me at that time because I was very young.
Yeah. But I think they probably saw that drive and ambition, like a young person out not even just hustling for themselves, but for their family.
Yes.
I mean, that for me, just having to, I think, just show up and say, Mom, don't worry, just, Christmas, I've got this. And I mean, I know how it feels like at this age. I can't imagine at 17 when you think about your studies and then your mom hearing you say something like that at such a young age. It's like that responsibility, the discipline, because I mean, you could have used that money for other things, but you were also very disciplined about making sure that you use that for your own family.
Definitely.
So growing up, what did you want to do?
I wanted to become a CA. Chartered
CA?
accountant, yes. I was very good with maths, accounting as well as business economics. So I thought the only natural thing to do was becoming a chartered accountant. So that's what I want to become.
And then in terms of, so you wanted to become CA, and then obviously a lot of your career was in HR. Maybe take us through your career journey, how that started and how you were where you are right now and how you evolved from being wanting to be a CA to you being in sort of working within the HR space.
So when I matriculated in the year 2000, I'm ready to go to university. I applied at University of Port Elizabeth. I got accepted to do BCom accounting, obviously going through the line of becoming a CA. I got accepted, and then after that, both my parents, my mom and dad, told me that we don't have the money. We didn't raise enough money for you to go to university. It's like, oh, dream one shattered. Yeah. So I then asked myself, what is it that I'm going to do? That's when I went back to employment. But I had a trade-off with my mom. I said, okay, you don't have money to take me to university, and my dad doesn't have at this point in time. I'll give you a year to raise it, but can you please at least pay for 2 of my subjects? I don't want to lose the momentum of actually going to school. Sure. So I'd like to improve 2 of my subjects. And then my mom agreed. So in me, trying to improve for that year, 2 subjects, I started going to career counseling and career sessions, etc. So I one day met this lady in a career session, and they had different stalls for different courses. So as we are moving from one stall to another, engineering, BCom, accounting, etc., I came across this stall that was written industrial psychologist. Then I said, okay, let me try it. Let me see what do they have to offer? And then the lady said to me, so I said, okay, this looks interesting. It talks about people, talks about behavior, it talks about psychology. And it looks like these are big words for me, you know. So what does this entail? And then the lady said to me, it's a study of human behavior. And then I was immediately attracted to study human psychology. And then I said, okay, then human resources is where I see myself. And I registered, got accepted. And fortunate enough, my mom had raised about 50% of my registration to go and study in the following year. That's how then I ended up being an HR.
And how has your journey been? Like, so you're studying, did you get into a graduate program when you were finished studying? What was the journey of you in your career?
So I then studied with the first year, obviously with my mom's and dad's registration fee. Then after that, I knew this is it, because my parents told me this is it. You've got to apply for bursaries or any funding that you may get. So I applied through NSFAS. And then I got accepted, and then I studied through that. And I'd like to think I was one of the top 5 students in my class.
I love that.
Throughout, yes.
I love that.
Throughout my studies. I mean, from first year, because of, I knew I've got nothing to fall back on. Like, there was nothing else for me. So I needed to make sure that whatever it is that I do during my varsity years, as much as, yes, like any student, I did parties, but I needed to, you know, to ensure that I stick to my books and ensure that I do pass and maintain that funding so that I can continue with it up until I graduate. In my 3rd year, I was then, you know, I was scouted by the lecturers and stuff. They got in touch with me. They wanted to have a student assistant. Then I said, okay, it's fine. They said, no, it's going to pay. We're going to give you 3,500 rand.
Wow.
Then I said, like, wow. So from 30 rands to 50 rands a day, now 3,500 per month. Oh, definitely I can do a lot. So I bought my mom TVs and systems and microwaves and stoves. And, you know, that's when I renovated a bit of my mom's house.
Sure.
So everything about me and my earnings has always been giving back to my mom. I feel that she appreciates me so much that she does not expect a lot from me now. So it's a very natural and organic give and take type of a situation. Yeah. So I don't feel burdened by my mom that, every month she's asking me money. No, because I've given a lot of her, and she understood my boundaries as I grew up and my salary band grew. So that's about my varsity life. And then of course in my final year, as I was doing my BTech but doing the student assistant job at the same time, then I started applying for graduate programs up until I got an opportunity at Coca-Cola in Port Elizabeth to become part of the graduate program. So I was then a graduate at Coca-Cola in the HR department.
Sure. And then you moved from graduate to higher rankings, and how was that journey? Wow.
If I can talk about corporate journey with you, it can take the whole day. So it has been a very so corporate for me brought a lot about me. So I learned a lot about myself in corporate. I learned a lot about other people. So it felt like it was at the time where I was applying what I've learned, being in the HR space. So I had to find ways to navigate it so that I can still be successful in corporate. Sure. And I can still maintain my goals, but I can still be of value in corporate as well. Because for me, I always find that the corporate journey for me, it was a give and take. So I got a lot in corporate, but I gave a lot. So meaning the long hours, the hard work, doing the things that others didn't want to do, getting projects that others didn't want the projects. Yeah. But what I got in return, if I can tell you now, we'll both start crying. So I got a lot. I mean, I remember going to, in 2010, 2 years working for this company. Then I said to my boss, give me a project and then adjust my salary in 3 months. And then she gave me the project. It was a 3-month project. I executed the project. And then I went back to her and said, here's the project. It's running effectively and I've executed it diligently. So please give me a raise. And then I got the raise.
Wow.
Also, it was a matter of being honest and open about your skills and abilities and your weaknesses, so that they are able to, to assist you where you can't, and you are able to leverage on your strength where you can. So it was really a give and take. I mean, corporate took me to University of Cape Town and paid for my studies 100% to study postgraduate in business administration. That was in 2010. 2014, the same corporate took me to Wits Business School. I studied executive development program, fully funded. And today, where I am, studying my executive MBA, my client paid for the MBA because of the work that I've done for them.
I want the client. I love that.
Yeah. So for me, everything is, what is it that you're giving?
Yeah.
So that you can get, so that this can be a natural, reciprocal relationship.
Yeah.
Whether you are employer, employee, client, or supplier.
Sure. And I mean, I know that before you started your business, but that's what we're going to get into. Maybe we can even get into that. What inspired you to start your business? What is it about? I think anyone that's sort of like interested, like, I love Noma, I see her on social media, I love her so much, but I want to understand more about her business. And I think we're going to touch a lot on growing a business. So I think that context is also great for anyone that's sort of listening.
Okay. So I come from a family that taught me certain values growing up. When I was born, my dad was already an entrepreneur. He died in 2009. May his soul rest in peace. And when he died, he was still an entrepreneur. So I grew up from an entrepreneurial background and family. So the principles and the values of hard work, the principles of generosity, giving back, which today we call corporate social responsibility.
Yes.
My dad did those things long time ago. I mean, every Christmas, he would have food parcels for the community and put outside, the 12.5 kgs of sugar, rice, mealie meal, etc., and everything like that. So I learned all those values from there, and I was fortunate enough because he exposed me to his business. I could see the time that he leaves home. I could see the time that he comes back. I saw when he was growing his supermarket from 1 supermarket to 5 supermarkets in years. So I was there throughout the journey, and I saw when his business fell down and he had nothing, and I saw him rising from having nothing and restarting again. So all those basic principles I've learned from him. So I always knew that when I studied HR, my goal was to become an HR executive. Did I not achieve HR executive? I did. I went from an HR practitioner, HR consultant, HR manager, senior HR manager, HR director. So I was like, okay, what next for me? What is next for me? So I thought, okay, there's nothing else besides hopping from HR director to HR director, from one company to another company. So let me not do that. Let me rather start my own company so that I can equip and empower and create employment, in the South African context where we've got high unemployment rate.
Sure. I'm even listening to your dad's story. That's maybe your first experience of learning from learning about business, because sometimes business, you go to school, you learn about it, but sometimes at home and you see how your dad's running your business, seeing how he's picking himself up when maybe things aren't going well, and I think sometimes we as people, we sometimes forget the lessons we learn around us and things that inspire us. The fact that you could draw it back to, no, my dad was like this is why I knew I was going to become entrepreneurial. What was the process of building your business? So okay, you can talk about the first 3 years and how the first 3 years, because usually they say the first 3 years are the toughest for a lot of businesses.
I agree.
And they say that if you make it after 3 years, you probably will make it in the long term. And obviously their life changes and things happen. But how was the process of setting up your business? How were the first 3 years? And what tips would you give someone who's starting out? So that's 3 questions, but we can start with the first one.
Yes. Yeah. So while I was in corporate, I think in my final year in corporate before I exited, when I moved from one company to another, which was my last position, I registered a company called Ziyana Business Consulting and Training. I started at the corporate in April. In July, I had registered a company. Something said to me, this is it. This is the last organization. Even though I didn't have the means, I did not know how, but that was it. So I registered the company in 2016 in July. I remember 2016 throughout the year, no revenue whatsoever. Then in April, May the following year, I got my first client, which gave us a revenue of 4,500 rand. I remember I was so excited. I was calling my mom, said, my mom, the business for the first time has a revenue. Yes. Something went into the bank account. And calling friends, calling everyone that was supporting me and who were my sponsors at the time, because I was grateful for the opportunity. So I went into the business. Then I jumped ship in May. In around the time that I got my first business, I jumped ship, and that's a story for another day. But I always say, sometimes God brutally removes you from situation because there's greater and bigger things that are waiting for you. So that's what happened to me. I was brutally removed from the situation in corporate because I needed to land where I was meant to be and where I am today. So first 3 years, very tough. They were very tough. I mean, we went from buying from Woolies to scaling down to going to Spar, going to Checkers, and then going to Macro, and then going to everything that was cheap because we just couldn't afford food because we're investing in the business. I remember times and days where school, my kids' school would call me to say, when are you paying your school fees? And I would delay that. So the only budget I had during the 3 years was the registration, beginning of the year, and accumulate enough money so that at the end of the year they can get their reports. So you can imagine 9 months of getting calls from the schools, the legal team calling you, asking you, when are you paying? Otherwise we're going to throw your kids out, etc. So those are the hardships and the sacrifices that as an entrepreneur I had to make. And I remember the day when my car was to be repossessed at the time. I mean, they got into my estate, they called me, and then I said to the security guards, you dare not tell those people that I'm home. Tell them that I am not home because I'm still figuring out how am I going to pay this money, because if I don't have this car, I will not be able to do my business. But those are the sacrifices. But people don't know that because we glorify entrepreneurship. We don't talk about the hardships. So those were the hardships. I mean, building a company from zero base, not having anything, not even inheritance from the parents, having, resources, because when your company is at the infancy stage, the type of resources that you get at a very low level, because you can't afford to pay skilled people. So you end up doing all the job.
You become everyone.
You become everyone. So I was the FM, I was a salesperson, I was an operations manager, I was actually the doer of the work, so I was everything. But for a year, I was the only person doing employed in the business up until the following year, where I appointed one person at an administrator level. Then we grew together. I mean, year 3, I had 5 people. Year 4, I had 8. Year 6, now I have 20. So I grew from one-man business to a 20, resourced business.
Sure. Also when you were sharing how your revenue has also grown, it's like that whole patience. And I love what you're saying. You celebrated your first 4 point. You were 4,500. Like, this is celebration enough, because now when you do start making those other big amounts, it's as much of a celebration as the whatever was coming in when you first started. Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, the episode does not end here. So make sure you go on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and also Google Podcasts to check out the full episode and be inspired, learn so much more, and learn more from our guests today. I hope you stay equipped and elevated. Love from Ayanda.